Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Easter 2020, Easter Sunday morning, Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. So here we are on Dawn Busters, looking at a whiskey from 1880, but not, this bottle, but the brand, Windsor Canadian, imported. So there you got your crown, like most Canadian whiskeys, representing the kind of government Canada has, a kingdom. Then you got your shield, fancy lions, and that British Commonwealth style thing. Windsor Canadian whiskey, their old tagline is supremely smooth. If you look at old advertisements from the 1950s and 60s, supremely smooth, blended and distilled under strict supervision of the Canadian government. There's really no need for them to say that, because all Canadian whiskey is blended and distilled and blended under the strict supervision of the Canadian government. But anyway, it's like if a beer bottle said beer bottle in a bottle, well, it's in a bottle. You're looking at it, it's in a bottle. Ronnie S. Cheers, Ron. Cheers to you, Ronnie S. I was thinking about you last night. I almost did a video. Remember those topics you were talking about? I said, well, I'll wait till Ronnie gets with me and he'll bring up some of those topics. Happy Easter, brother, man. Happy Easter to you, brother, man. Over there in Florida. He's in the Eastern time zone, and I'm in the Central. So Windsor Canadian. So they used to have a web page for it on the Beam-Suntory website, but that website cut way back. I know they don't have the page anymore unless they brought it back. Didn't say a whole lot. It just said, like Windsor Canadian, introduced in 1880, blah, blah. All that. It has wonderful barley from the high plains, the interior plains of Alberta, and all of this stuff. Didn't tell you where it was made. Didn't tell you the blend ratios or anything. It was basically just saying, it's really good. And there was a photo of it. But now there's nothing. Made with only premium grains and glacial-born waters. Glacial-born. Didn't mean the water's from a glacier. Now, Windsor Canadian. Imported and bottled by the Windsor Distillery Company, Deerfield, Illinois. Yeah, Windsor Distilling Company. That's an alias for Beam-Suntory. This was $10.99. 750 milliliter bottle, $10.99 at Winn-Dixie. And there's about 20% of it left. People kept asking, in a brown bottle, that's good. You want brown, protects it from getting light damage. People asked me for years, when are you going to do Windsor? When are you going to do Windsor? I said, I will. And then after a while, I said, well, I have a bottle. And I had that bottle setting in the cabinet for about 2 or 3 years. So $10.99 at Winn-Dixie. You can still get them, but I think they only have the big plastic handle bottles now. Winn-Dixie just chose to go with that format. So that'll be over there. I'm thinking of doing an episode 1, Spanish-American War and the Philippine-American War. That would be a good episode. Now the current war is America's war on America, right? America's war on America. So they subdued the world, except for Russia and China. So now they're going to subdue themselves, subdue the people. You say, well, with what? Yeah, a fear of a virus. That's how they're going to subdue America. It was a novel idea, really, because, communism, it did scare people, and they were willing to give up a lot of freedom for it, but not total. And then terrorism, people were willing to give up a lot more freedom for fear of terrorism. But then they got it figured out. They said, hey, they were probably, some lodge meeting, not third degree, but, way up. Big time, the big time leaders drinking blood out of a skull or wine out of a skull, and the wizards, you know what I mean? But whatever, sitting up there talking about, what if we come up with a virus? Scare, not a virus. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Please believe me. Viruses are common, natural, part of the world. Okay. This will make them knuckle under. And boy, has it. Boy, brilliant idea. Both gold. This one's a little more hazy, though. Sazerac. Is that Sazerac? Yeah. They tend to be a little hazy. We have met the enemy and he is us, says Joe Biden's dentist. Right. So it's a really brilliant idea. Like, how could you get the slaves to knuckle under, the clones? And so the fear psychosis that they have established in America is really amazing. My friend David was wearing a mask in the grocery store yesterday. I said, I ain't wearing a mask. So you wear a mask. Wear a mask. Do what you want. I don't care. I'm not. And I have it. And I won't. He said, they'll make you. Well, they might make me. I'll have a special mask. Old time Louisiana mask from. See how that goes over. You say, you're just a cad. Hey. May as well go full bore with idiocy. We've been subdued by fear, but we'll overcome, brother man. I think we will overcome. Maybe we won't. Oh, well, you know, I never came on the internet talking about how brilliant Americans were. You never heard me say that. And you never heard me come on the internet talking about how we're an exceptional, like we're American exceptionalism and we're different and we're the greatest cherry on the top of the sundae in the world. I never said any of that. Okay. I'm not a zealot super patriot. I'm patriotic, but that's all neoconservative Trotskyite type thinking anyway. They invented all that stuff so that they could promote a world revolution. See, when you know stuff, you talk about it. Okay, anyway, well, you talk about it a little bit. I plan to join Style Sunday. I'll never wear a mask. I ought to go to the store with a mask and just have eye holes. People say, what are you doing? I say, I'm scared. Okay. Well, I'll be able to tell these apart. This will be tricky. They're both going to be, I think, flavor. Well, let's not even talk about that anymore. Canadian whiskey is generally flavored with stuff. They're both going to be subtle flavors and everything. So, like, what is the big time famous Canadian whiskey from Beam-Suntory? Well, you see, that's Canadian Club. Windsor Canadian, it really isn't that different from Canadian Club from what I could tell. All I know is this: Canadian Club's age 5 years, okay? 5. Now, Windsor, I think it says age 3 years somewhere on here, or I could be wrong. Yeah, I thought I was right. Look at, I'm pointing. See, I'm not a politician because I'll point at you like, I thought I was right. Politicians do like this. I feel your pain. I feel your pain. You know, they go to these classes like, and they'll tell them, when you're on stage or you're talking on the television, don't point at people. It reminds them of dictators. Do this with your thumb. The point I want to make first is about the economy. We're going to work on building our economy, making it better, paying down the debt. And but you ever notice in real life, no one talks like that? You ever met a person that talks like that with their thumb? No. You say, well, the politicians, they don't even talk like normal people. They're not normal people. They're more like a lizard or a snake or a gecko. Well, that's a type of lizard. So you see. All right, the wife and I were hiking in a local park yesterday, and the local cops tried to question us about why we were out. Absolutely unreal. I was in a park yesterday, and the park manager guy just said, hey, he was trying to tell us how to get around the flooding, but it was too late. We had already come all the way back, so we were getting hungry. I said, oh, well, thanks. He was painting the sign with brown paint. That's a really nice park. It's like super pristine, clean, no litter anywhere. It's huge. You could walk for hours and hours. The weather was perfect. A little chilly, but the weather was perfect. And I've heard that they're strict in Louisiana, but I haven't seen any of that. You understand? So people around here be much more volatile towards authority. You know what I'm saying? Other states, they're much more compliant. So when the police yell at them in the park, you know, like the Star Wars movies, or like in Italy in the 1930s or today, get out of the park. See, people in Louisiana probably curse them or something and say, hey, shut up. You know, go ride us. You know, and then conflicts will rise up bad around here, because that's where, like, they might shout at somebody in the park around here, whether the people are white or black, you know, they shout at them. In Louisiana, they might tell the cops, why don't you go write a ticket? You know, why don't you go park your car out on the highway and give out tickets? Ain't that what y'all normally do? You know, and then a whole lot of people might start shouting out, and you might have like 40 people, and then the cops will get scared. So they'd be much more confrontational here, you know. So they gotta be wary, so to speak, around here. And a lot of the shutdown in Louisiana, you know, is on paper. It's a paper shutdown, but it looks good for TV, you know, public appearances and all that. So some of the stores are getting on board with, like, only so many people can come in at a time and all that business. They're doing this now after it's already dying out, right? The virus is already on the downslope. And you say, you see, the distancing worked. They're all saying this on TV. The distancing worked. It worked. I said, no, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. It's just dying out as normal. But I knew they were going to claim that, you know. I mean, if they'd have had baseball games and parades and get-togethers and bars open and restaurants open like normal, it would have been the same death rate. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would have been the same amount of people in the hospital, the same amount dying with the virus, not really from the virus, with the virus. You know what I'm saying? It'd have been the same occurrence. Viruses do this. This is what they do. They blow through and then they die out. And you can't really stop it. It doesn't going around the store like a slave clone, a dwarf slave wearing a mask. It doesn't make you safe. It just makes you look like a dwarf slave, you know. But that's all right. At least JBD knows. At least Clinton had the debt under control. Right. Where I live, and he was evil, you know, but like even evil people can do good things. Where I live, I thought it was a lot of different than New York, but they aren't. A bunch of little dictators running their fiefdoms. Yeah, Florida is made up of a lot of dictatorial people. And many of them come from New York, though. You got to remember, Florida is like a northern state in the South these days. Everyone has their own little kingdoms, right? Okay, now on to the whiskey. Oh, heck, I don't mind talking about all that other stuff, though. Some people get really uptight about it, you know, on Facebook and social media, like real, I would call them like treacherous, very immature people. They'd be like, I'm not going to be your friend anymore because you said something. I was like, well, you're not a friend then. You're just like a hossa, you know, like in the movie Scarface. You're a pig that doesn't fly right. You know, why did you want to be my friend in the first place? You thought I was some kind of like puppet or some kind of like self-aggrandizer, you know what I'm saying? That somebody's going to build up your ego so you could show me what beans you ate with lunch and what sausage you cooked and your children unwrap Christmas presents. I mean, when did I ever want to come to your house and look at your family photos anyway? I don't even know who you are. I barely know you. I saw you once in high school and you said, hey, what's up? And I said, hey, man. That's it. I mean, you know, run on, go away. But if I met the person in real life, I'm a generous person. I would give them a towel and they could cry in it, you know, and they could keep the towel. I wouldn't want it back. All right. You know, I'm tired of these kind of people. They're like mice, you know, they run around in a house and they run from you, hide. I enjoyed the Blue Label review. Oh, I'm glad. A pig that doesn't fly right, a hustle. Right. Anyway, thanks, Craig. I love doing that review, man. That was so much fun. Maybe I could review Johnny Walker Blue Label once a day, every day until I run out, but I wouldn't do it, of course. All right. On with the Rumbelow. It just smells like distilled grains. I mean, this is so simple. It smelled like they took corn and they distilled it and they aged it in a used barrel and then made whiskey. Okay, that's about where we are here. I'm not saying anything bad about it. It's just basic, you know. You say, well, after all, it's only $8.99 a liter for the James Foxe. That's right. This one smells the same, but there's a little more flavoring component to it. Meaning what? Like a rum with a mixture of sherry wine and maybe a mixture in there of brandy. I don't know. See, Canadian liquor laws are very flexible. Like, you could have a lot of flavorings at it. Now, the flavorings have to be a certain component, like they have to be distilled liquor or wine that's aged in small wood. Beyond that, hey, it's on it, and they have to be aged 3 years in Canada and blended in Canada. Now, they could be bottled in the USA. Besides that, it could be anything, you know. They'll have, it's like a circus tent. It could be any design you want, as long as it's a tent. Ron's a good guy. I know because Johnny Newley vouches for him. Ron's a real dude. I try to be a real dude. I try to be straightforward with people. No, really, I do. I don't like to play games. So when people want to play games, they can come over here and I have games on the shelf. I never play them. I got Parcheesi. I got Risk, Axis and Allies, but I don't like that game. It's got too many like faults with it. Too many. It's got problems. But that's nobody plays it anymore. And I have other games, cards. But don't play games. You want to be a friend, we'll be friends. You want to talk about beer, wine, and liquor, we'll talk about it. You want to talk about rock and roll, we'll talk about it. But you want to play games, political games, ideological games, psychobabble games, I don't want to deal with you, okay? Brian Wilson had the same problem. He was famous. I'm not famous. On the Beach Boys. He talked about that in a song called Hold On to Your Ego. And I said, when I listened to that song, I said, that's exactly what I deal with weekly. He talked about people that they come on like they're peaceful, but inside they're so uptight. These are people that come on like they're peaceful, but inside they're so uptight. They trip through the day and waste all their thoughts at night. And they want to stay in their safety zones, he said. All right, sweet corn. I mean, golly gee, it's like you're drinking corn on the cob without the salt. Candy corn. I'm not against candy corn. I don't have some kind of animosity towards candy corn. I wouldn't necessarily want to eat it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's there. It exists. Corn syrup. You know, this is what these things are. This one's much more flavorings oriented. Like Johnny Newley said, the almond extract. It doesn't have almond extract, but it like you don't know how to mentally like assess it. It's strange, like it's an unusual flavor, so you can't. I said that yesterday. You're tasting it. That's taste. And you're trying to use speech to explain it, and it's difficult. So the only way you could really get a handle on what I'm drinking is you got to go buy it. And this wouldn't be much of an investment. Go buy James Foxe, $8.99 a liter. That's not exactly laying down the big bucks. $10.99 for Windsor, no problem. Drink them, and then you'll be like saying, "Oh yeah, I see what you mean. It's unusual, but that's Canadian whiskey." But I got 2 coming up, Tuesday and Thursday. I believe I'm going to do those. To me, they're grim. They're kind of like down notes. Like you say, well, I feel like I'm getting depressed and I feel bad and I don't know why. Well, drink those and then you'll feel even worse. But these won't make you feel that way, you see. There's some rye spice here. It's clean. I mean, it's clean. It's like glacial water. And I'm not mocking it, but it does seem like that. It's a medium body. It's a pretty succinct finish. When I say succinct finish, like it just wraps up pretty fast. It doesn't linger and be cloying and long-winded and anything like that. It's there. It's nice. Would I buy Windsor Canadian? Yes, I would. Would I recommend it? Yes, I would. Is it a good product? Yes, it is. Is it quality? Yes. Is it junk? Like cheap Canadian, somebody said bathtub whiskey. No way. No how. That's a fantasy. Is it probably Canadian Club, only 3 years old? Now that I would believe. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it is Canadian Club, but they take some that's only 3 years old and they bottle it and call it Windsor Canadian. Oh, and then they let some other ones stay in the barrel for 5 years. Get it? Then that's Canadian Club, because it tastes remarkably, strangely identical to Canadian Club. And then they let some other ones stay in the barrel 12 years. And then you got your small batch. You see, and they might add color and make it darker. And that makes perfect sense to me, and I believe it, and that's it. And I'm unanimous in that. And it's bottled in Illinois, Deerfield, Illinois. There must be some huge plant. Would I like to tour it? Yes. Do they give tours? No. Should they? Yes. This one's coming from Buffalo Trace. Do they give tours? Yes. Are they free? Yes. Do they give free samples? Yes. Do they take you into the guts of the place so you can see the real operations? No. Only downside. You see, I want to see the real stuff. Mild, mellow. Tastes nothing like Buffalo Trace bourbons, okay, because it's from Canada. It's got the flavorings. This one has a strong rye pepper note. Now, you know rye bread has that strange peppery herbal note because it's like spicy bread or whatever. All right, this has that. And Canadian whiskey, they used to call it rye whiskey because it has a strong rye flavor generally relative to American. And then Sazerac, yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Sazerac whiskeys across the board tend to have a higher rye spice. I don't know why. I guess Sazerac likes to use a lot of rye bread. Rye grain, rye whiskey, especially those ones that come from Maryland. Like if you ever see a whiskey, it says, doesn't matter what the distillery's called because they make up names. Oak Park Distilling. It's not a real company. Majestic Distilling ain't a real company. Whatever. As long as it says Baltimore, Maryland, you know what it is. It's Sazerac. And you'll say, well, this stuff, you might think somebody put pepper in it. You say, who put the black pepper in the whiskey? But it isn't that. It's just that tradition from that distillery is high rye spice. Now, so that kind of gives you a marker or a road sign of where you're at on these, and that'll tip you off that it's a Sazerac product. Do I like the higher rye note? I don't really either like it or dislike it. You know what I'm saying? I just recognize it. I'm indifferent to it. Whether it has higher rye or doesn't, I don't care. But I notice it. To me, I notice it. All right. Let's see. Going down to these comments. I never play political games, says Ronnie. Bill at Beerhound says, how do, Ronaroo? Hey, Bill. Drewski Brewski says, I want to play Candyland. I think I still have Candyland. You know, when my daughter was little, she would cry, you know, if she lost. And she want me to let her win. I said, well, you don't let people win. There's no purpose in that. That's like a socialistic theory. You know, you just let somebody win even though they didn't earn it. And I told her, I said, well, Candyland is just whatever card you pull. There's no skill in it. It's just a children's game. You can't make yourself win. It's not even a game. It's sort of like an exhibition. I hear the birds in the background. You're stealing my trick, laughing out loud. Yeah, but this is not our soundtrack. Haha. See, it's morning time and they're all waking up. But sometimes even in the middle of the night, 2:30 in the morning, you'll hear a bird, but it's rare, you know. I hear, let's do an early stout Sunday for Easter. What do you think? I would, but I think it'll upset the other ones. I'll ask you. How about this? You ask them because you're in the same hangouts with me. Beer Talk 2020. Ask them if they want to do it for 9:30 Eastern. I'm down for it. But if they want to wait, we'll just wait. You know, 9:30. No use upsetting the apple cart. I'm gonna see if my friend David wants to come over to do Johnny Walker Blue Label, but he's probably not gonna want to come over 2 days in a row but I drove 75 miles. I drove 75 miles one way to the state park yesterday, so he only had to drive 24 miles one way here. But anyway. Cheers, Ronnie Knight, says Drewski Brewski. Please review Four Loko Tropical. Ronnie F says Drewski is trouble. I find the complicated ownership of these distilleries fascinating. It is fascinating. You know, they use all these alias names. And they're allowed that. Some people are so amateur in their legal understanding. They'll say, I'm going to sue them because I thought it was Blue Moon Company and I found out it was Coors and they tricked me. Wrong. You can't win. Look at the law. The U.S. government says companies can use what they call, it's not an alias name. They don't use the term alias name. It's like I think they call it an assumed name, And I think Sazerac has like 75 assumed names. The Founders Company, County Line Distilling, Buffalo Trace. You can use it. It's not against the law, okay? The way the government looks at it is, hey, do your own research. You know, you're not damaged. That's not a tort. No one damaged you because you bought something from Oak Park Distilling and you found out later it was Sazerac. You know, you could have done the research. And anyway, the government is saying it doesn't even matter. It's like, it's not even an issue. It's like idiocy. Sometimes the U.S. government is right. I'm not an anti-government libertarian fanatic. I'm not. I'm anti-war. That's different. Okay, I'm anti-socialist, but that's different. Okay, oh, that's so clearly rye. I'm gonna say this is the Windsor. Now, which one tastes better? Oh, it's a tie. I mean, so you may as well save the $2 and get extra beer, whiskey, right? $2 cheaper, and you get 25% more for James Foxe. It's a winner, even if I can't tell them apart. Now, does that mean it's going to be the same price in your area? No, it doesn't. So it could be totally different in your area. So I'm going to look at it. If this says JF, I'm wrong. But I don't think I'm wrong. And I'm not wrong. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha. I am the emperor. I am the king. I am the prince, the grand duke of whiskey tasting. Until I get it wrong the next time. And then I'll try to, like, make no claims to expertise. See, I only make a claim to expertise when I'm right. When I'm wrong, I say that's what happens, you know, when you go live. I was watching a little bit of a movie called, well, it was a television series from 44 years ago called I, Claudius. And I liked how Caligula ran things. If he did something right, then it was because he was an imperial genius. Now, if he did something wrong, it was because of somebody else's fault. But they got tired of his antics and he was stabbed to death in an alleyway. Please do Testament to Legacy, Turtle Mode activated, laughing out loud. Okay, I don't understand any of that. Drewski's wrong. Okay, well, none of those comments make any sense to me. But anyway, you say, well, you've been drinking whiskey for 30 minutes. I don't really think that's related. But anyhow, John Hurt played a great Caligula. It's a great scene, like he's losing money. I don't know. You got to watch this. It's I, Claudius, episode 9. That's fascinating. All right. Anyway, that's it. I got it right because I'm a genius. But if I get it wrong, it's because of circumstances out of my control, you see. All right. So that's it. I got it. And I know I'm going to get the next 2 right. So if you thought I was a genius today, you're going to really believe it. The next 2 challenges, because the Gibson's Finest Rare and the Heir to the Throne tastes nothing like James Foxe. Nothing like it. And they're not even good. And James Foxe is good. So that's already determined. It's already determined. All you're going to be watching is the exhibition match. Thank you. And get ready, because next Saturday is Johnny Walker Blue Label versus everybody else. Everybody love me.